I, 29, have been married to my wife, 29, for 4 years. I have a little sister, 10, who lives with my parents. 2 months ago my parents tragically passed away in a car accident. It has been very tough for my sister and I, but we are managing. I am the only brother, so I decided to take in my little sister and be her guardian. So here comes the issue, my wife and I already decided that we did not want kids. When I told her, she refused and said she did not sign up to be a parent, and we had already decided that. I told her I understand, but life is unfair and sometimes things happen that force us to do things outside of our comfort zone because it is the morally right thing to do. She said that I should put her in foster care for adoption. I shut down that completely and told her the brother is still alive, not happening. We continued talking about this several times, but she would not change her mind. So I finally told her I am doing it, whether she agrees or not. She can either accept the situation or we divorce, and if she decided to go the separation route I understand, because I am the one who broke the agreement about kids. She started crying and said that she chooses the second option. My in-laws called me after my wife went back to their house and they started berating me about how I am an idiot and bad husband and that a good husband will always choose his wife first. I did not reply until they said that their daughter's tears are more valuable than my sister. That got me pissed, so I told them to back off and hung up the phone. So, am I the idiot for divorcing my wife to adopt my sister? Not the idiot. I don't want kids either, but when it comes to the family we have already, I would never stop my SO from helping his sisters. One of them is living with us right now because her dad hit her. It isn't what I wanted. I am super introverted. But she is family and I was immediately ready to take her in. We all hope someone will be there for us if something awful happens. Your parents died. She is telling you to put your sister in foster care. That is callous and horrible to me. Life is what it is. We can't have everything we want and we do not abandon family. Not the idiot. I never want children. I dislike children. I am uncomfortable around children. But if I were in this situation as your spouse, I would totally support your decision 100% to take in your sister. You are being an amazing brother by sacrificing part of your future and taking on parenting responsibilities of a soon-to-be teenager and a grieving one at that. Your parents would be very proud of you. Please make it clear to your sister that she is not personally responsible for the breakup of your marriage. She does not need to carry that guilt along with her grief. No idiots here. This is a classic case of irreconcilable differences. I fully support your call to take your sister in as the morally correct choice, but the fact is that she wanted a child-free life. She is not obligated to stay with you when you can't give her that life anymore. She's not an idiot for that either. You are giving her the gift of freeing her to go seek that out. Better now than for her to barely tolerate a situation for 8 years, doubtlessly creating resentment between you and denying your sister a loving home. The weekend of the 11th was a horrible weekend for my family. My older sister, 23, was in a head-on collision on the night of the 10th. She was airlifted to a hospital 30 miles away. My mom, 40, moved to Arizona in March. My sister and I, 20, still live in Washington. My mom called me Saturday morning while I was running errands to tell me about my sister's accident. I dropped my groceries at home and went to see my sister. On the way to the hospital, I was also in a car accident. It totaled my car and I was taken to another hospital. Aside from bruising and a concussion, I'm fine. On Sunday morning, my mom flew up here to see us because her friend paid for her ticket and her hotel room. Her hotel is a block away from the hospital my sister was at. She called me when she landed, said a friend had picked her up and they were coming to see me. My entire body was in pain, but I went to get dressed in something that wouldn't hurt my bruises and try to brush my hair. I couldn't lift my arms very high, so that didn't go well. After I was finally ready, I get a text from her saying that she couldn't come see me because she had to see my sister before her friend had to do other things. Which was disappointing, but I understood since my sister was much more injured than I was. I talked to my sister the next day and she said mom never went to see her. Come to find out that she never checked into her hotel room and she spent the entire 3 days she was here with her friends instead of her injured kids. So I texted her asking why she never went to the hospital. She goes off on me telling me that I'm an idiot because I don't have a car to take her to the hospital and back even though my car was totaled. So I called her out for lying to the both of us about coming here for us when she really came here for herself. And she talked to my sister and ended up yelling at her and making her cry because my sister asked when mom was going to come see her. My sister has 8 broken ribs and it was incredibly painful for her to be crying and so upset. I don't think I'm the idiot, but my mom is off telling anyone who will listen how horrible and selfish and ungrateful I am and how awful I was treating her when she came up here for us. So, am I the idiot? Tiny update. I contacted the friend that paid for my mom's ticket and hotel room, over $1,300, and she was really pissed. She wasn't upset with me at all and thanked me for letting her know. I told her how I'm doing and let her know my sister is doing better. Not sure what she's doing next, maybe going to yell at my mom about lying to her as well. Not the idiot. Your mom literally did not come up to see or support you or your sister. Otherwise, she would have, but she didn't, despite saying otherwise. As far as I know, a parent being vaguely geographically closer, but actively refusing to see you does not do anything for physical and emotional pain. You can't be ungrateful if there is absolutely nothing to be grateful for. Her calling you selfish is a projection on her place, nothing more. I mean, sure, you're adults, but like super young adults, so counting on family support is a reasonable expectation, especially when promised. She failed, you did nothing wrong. No need to yell at your mom for lying to her friend. Her friend will do that. Your mom will likely yell at you for telling the friend, in fact. So be prepared. As for your mom, I would consider going no contact, at least for a while. Nobody needs that crap. That's some pretty crappy moves on her part. And if anybody tries to give you crap for being mean to your mom for all she did for you on that trip, feel free to tell them that neither you nor your sister saw her on that trip. Not the idiot. I see from her age she was young having your sister. Looks to me that she is now trying to live her life again without wanting to deal with her kids. Like she can't stop in to see either of you for 30 minutes. Shame on her. I'm sorry you found out you can't count on her in an emergency. Hope you and your sister heal up and have a good life. Please, next time anything major happens, get a taxi or Uber. Don't drive while highly emotional. I, 32, recently divorced my ex, 33, due to our coffee preferences. Despite having a solid marriage contract about property and finances, the court outright ignored it and awarded my family home to my ex. It's a 5-bedroom house, and I lived and maintained that I had modified for my then stepdaughter who has a walking disability. Sure, I can afford to buy and build a house if I so desired, but I got that house from my father who got it from his father. My parents are not alive, and I am an only child, so the house holds a sentimental value. Well, I lawyered up, fought in the superior court and won, and now ex and her daughter have to leave because they cannot afford the legal fees, and I am not willing to go into any settlement now that I know the kind of person I was up against. Problem is, my friends, extended family and people who know about our family situation. They are calling me the bad guy for putting the daughter in a bad situation. Yes, our country is bad in making places accessible, and my house was the one comfortable place she could be at. I could give that house and make a new one or buy one, but because of the sentimental value attached to the house, I was unwilling. They doubled down that I offered no financial assistance to my spouse out of obligation for being a man. They are all giving moral arguments instead of legal ones, and I for one do not see myself at fault. The ex is uploading videos of her daughter on how terrible a place she has to live in now that I stole my house. I feel conflicted. Not the idiot. It's your family home, handed down for generations. You had a contract. If the friends are that concerned, then they can house them. Just because you're a man doesn't mean you are obligated to do anything for your ex outside of the contract unless ordered to pay child support, etc. Why should you be made to buy a new home when you have one? It's shame for them, but that is life. Plus, her videos are petty and she doesn't deserve anything not contracted. If she doesn't like her housing, then that is on her to organize her life so she can live in a better home, another job, cut back on luxuries like Netflix and eating out, etc. That's your house. I can't honestly believe she's not just being entitled and just wants to make you look bad. It's not about her daughter needing the access. Especially because instead of fixing her new place or looking for help for her daughter, she's just posting about how hard it is for her. Forget those other people. They're being blinded by the child's disability because they don't want to seem insensitive, but it is not your responsibility to take care of her needs anymore. Honestly, if the ramps or things you made were removable, I'd remove them. So you had a prenuptial agreement about what would happen to your house if you were divorced, and she agreed to marry you based on that contract, and you got divorced, and now she doesn't like it. She cheated on the person whose house it was and paid money to modify said house for her daughter. To those who give you a hard time. We had a prenup on what would happen to the house in case of divorce. She cheated, so we got divorced, and I then enforced that prenup. Why isn't anyone giving her a hard time about sabotaging the marriage knowing what would happen to the house? In December we have 2 weddings to attend. A close friend of my fiancé is getting married, and my own best friend is also getting married. Both of the couples asked if we'd be part of the wedding party. My fiancé's friend asked him if he'd be a groomsman at his wedding, and my best friend asked if I'd be a bridesmaid at her own wedding. We're talking separate weddings here, just to be clear. Due to some financial hardships, my fiancé and I both decided to turn down both offers. Only one of us would be able to accept such a role, since we couldn't afford both. When I turned my best friend's offer down, she was very understanding. My fiancé turned down the groomsman offer at first, but recently I found out he's part of his friend's wedding party again, and he hadn't told me. I told him I'm hurt that he did this behind my back. Since we both compromised, we turned both offers down, so it wouldn't be one of us who'd have to do the sacrifice for the other. It was a mutual decision that we both agreed upon. He was the first to suggest it. He thought it wouldn't be fair for me to turn down my best friend, so he would afford to be a groomsman. And I agreed and said it wouldn't be fair for me to be a bridesmaid if he can't afford to be a groomsman too. We're in this together. I said he can't expect me to be okay with him being part of his friend's wedding party and doing all this behind my back when I turned my childhood best friend down. He implied I'm the idiot and did not speak to me for the rest of the night. He went out for beers with some friends. A couple of his friends who are also kin to my friends texted me I'm being the idiot for suggesting he drops out of the wedding and that he's not obligated to do that just because I feel inconvenienced, and told me to come back to my senses. Am I unreasonable and the idiot here? Not the idiot, and this sounds very boys club in a way I don't like. Not only did he not really explain why he changed his mind, he got upset, went out drinking, not a showcase my maturity move, and then had his friends text you to tell you to come back to your senses and that you're being an idiot. What sort of real man does this? Hides behind his friends when he thinks out on an agreement. I would come back to my senses and tell him that if he prefers the company of his buddies, so be it, and pay attention now. This is how he treats you. Now, before your wedding, before possible babies, pay attention. This is who he is. A weasel. Not the idiot. You had an agreement, which looks like he never meant to keep. Then when you called him on out, he went out drinking with his friends, who then called you to give a hard time. This dude and his friends are too immature for a relationship. They clearly don't respect women. I suspect the reason they are calling you the idiot is that they think you should know your place as a woman. You should leave this relationship. I suspect your fiancé will offer to quit the wedding when you tell him you are done, but it will be a trap. He will drop out of the wedding party, but he will blame you, even though it is his fault, and resent you for it. It is much cheaper to cancel an engagement than to get a divorce 5 years later because he hasn't changed. Why are you thinking of marrying this man? It seems to me that he merely told you he was turning down the request to be a groomsman and never stepped down in the first place. He figured you would just tee it away and say, oh honey, you're right, obviously your event is so much more affordable than a silly bridesmaid's dress would be, and go about your merry way. Unfortunately, he's engaged to a woman who won't take any crap. I would advise you to think about it. This is really the sort of person, the sort of liar, that you want to spend the next 5 minutes with, let alone the rest of your lives. Not the idiot, and I would probably give him his ring back and go to my bestie's wedding without him. My older sister Demi never wanted a sibling. I was born 5 years after her, and she always treated me like a rude stranger. You know, the person who talks crap and pushes your buttons, so you either give them the cold shoulder or you snap, depending on you and your life at that point. That has been how things are with her for as long as I can remember. Our dad used to punish that crap. There is a story of how the whole family knew she really did resent me. I was 2, she was 7. I made noise while she was watching TV and she yelled that I never should have been born after telling me to shut up multiple times at the top of her lungs. Dad got her therapy after that, but therapy didn't help. He was the parent who did more to shield me and never put it on me. Our mom is different. Dad died 3 years ago, and I knew that would mean mom could push more. My sister's wedding was last month. She invited me after mom told her to. Then mom told me to accept. I told her I didn't want to go. She said to go for her. I was seated with strangers, away from the rest of the family, kept out of family pictures, ignored by the bride and the groom, and everybody got a small trinket to take home except for me. I was pissed. Mom was upset and cried to my sister, but I was done. I told her a few days after she is never to ask me to attend my sister's crap again. That she doesn't want me and mom needs to accept it, and if she doesn't and she asks again, I will become estranged because I do not deserve to be treated like I have the plague. I told her I can only be beaten away so many times before I decide I want to make no more effort. She told me I was unfair and it was cruel to threaten her with that. She's still saying that weeks later. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot at all. Sounds like you've put up with years of abuse and you have every right to stand up for yourself. Your mom is completely backward trying to put this crap on you. I can't think of a more clear way to say you don't give a crap about a direct family member than seating them away from the family at their wedding. A wedding she didn't want to invite you to in the first place. Your sister has made it clear she will not accept you as family, and it is not your responsibility to try and fix that bridge she burned down. Good for you for standing up for yourself, and don't let anyone tell you that you have to do anything to fix this situation. Not the idiot. She's still saying that weeks later. That means she's still pushing you. She needs consequences. I suggest sending her one text. Mom, I told you not to push Demi on me. You are still complaining about my boundary, which means you are still pushing me. I am putting you on a timeout for 2 months. I hope in that time you will realize that I deserve respect. And then block her on everything for 2 months. When you do reconnect, don't say anything about your boundary or the no contact. If mom does it again, rinse and repeat. I'm sorry you've had to deal with both Demi and your mom being such idiots. Not the idiot. Your mom needs to leave you alone on the topic. It's not your behavior and attitude that need changing, it's your sister's. And now that you are both adults, there really isn't much she can do. It's unfortunate, but your mom is going to have to learn how to maintain separate relationships with each of you. If she keeps pushing you into mentally harmful situations like this, all for the sake of creating her vision of a functional family, you are well within your rights to cut her out of your life.